Happy Saturday, everybody. Welcome into Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham. We got some Bears news to get into as they have made some roster moves. We have a key injury update. Plus, I want to take a look at one specific matchup for this Bears-Raiders game coming up on Sunday. Shout out to Illinois fans out there. Big bounce-back win over the USC Trojans just now. Walk-off field goal. Kicker looked nervous, but he knocked it through. So shout out to Brett Bielema and the boys. My TCU Horned Frogs not so good last night as they failed to close that game out. But hope you're enjoying your college football Saturday. If you want to support the show, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button. We would greatly appreciate it. That way we can continue to grow this channel. Okay, let's talk about some roster moves the Bears have made here ahead of tomorrow's game with the Las Vegas Raiders. Remember last week they still had a roster spot open when they put Jalen Johnson and Karan Amagaji on IR. They filled one of those spots with Tano Passanio. They have now filled the other. Carl Jones, the linebacker, has been signed to the 53-man roster as he continues to go kind of back and forth. The Bears have also elevated two players from the practice squad for tomorrow's game. Defensive tackle Jonathan Ford and tight end Steven Carlson. More on Carlson and the tight end situation here in a minute, but the Carl Jones move is kind of interesting. He's not really a guy where if you cut him later, you're worried about him getting claimed elsewhere, so it's not really a huge deal, and it's, if he's someone they want active tomorrow potentially, then okay, sign him to the 53, save one of his practice squad elevations because you only get 3 of those per year for specific players. So I'm fine with that. But remember, after the bye week, Austin Booker is eligible to return. So I would imagine, assuming he's healthy, which I don't know what the update on him is, but if he is, I would assume he gets activated and plays in that Week 6 game against the Washington Commanders in 2 weeks. As far as Jonathan Ford and Steven Carlson go, let's talk about Ford first here. Kind of interesting. Now, Grady Jarrett is inactive. He's not going to play in this game, so Ford is another defensive tackle, but they're not really similar defensive tackles. Ford is more of a bowling ball, 330-pound nose tackle type, so it could just be depth at the defensive tackle position for tomorrow, or is this kind of, in-game competition for Andrew Billings, who has not looked that good this year? Ford is really your only run-stuffing DT. The Bears have struggled mightily to stop the run, and what have we talked about all week? You need to slow down Ashton Jeanty, who hasn't gotten going yet either, but if you're the Raiders, I guarantee you're looking at this matchup as a possibility to get Jeanty going and to kind of have a breakout game here. So does Jonathan Ford, is he active tomorrow, and does he see a notable role in terms of getting those kind of first and second down snaps, at least some of them, to help stop the run? Maybe that's a possibility. We'll have to wait and see. He did some good things down the stretch last year when some guys went down, so keeping an eye on that. And then the reason Steven Carlson has been elevated to from the practice squad for tomorrow's game is because Colston Loveland is likely out for the Bears tomorrow. That note coming in from ESPN's Adam Schefter. Shefty reporting that Loveland is not expected to play tomorrow as he's dealing with that hip injury. So Carlson elevated, which means they'll have Cole Kmet, Durham Smythe, and Steven Carlson as the 3 tight ends for tomorrow's game. They would definitely dress and have Carlson active for that contest. So don't expect Loveland to play tomorrow. Looks like, maybe he'll work out before the game and they'll test the hip, but with the bye week next week, sounds like they're going to take the cautious approach here and leave him out for this game. So Loveland likely out, and then Carl Jones activated to the 53, and then Jonathan Ford and Steven Carlson active for game day tomorrow. So all interesting stuff. Some other injury stuff I want to dive into, some buzz that maybe Kyler Gordon's going to try to give it a go. So we will talk about that in just a moment. But I do want to take a moment to talk about today's awesome sponsor. That, of course, is PrizePicks, daily fantasy made easy at prizepicks.com/CLNS. You and I make decisions every day, but being right on PrizePicks can get you paid. Don't miss any of the action this season with PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. College football Saturday rolling along, plenty of time to set some PrizePicks lineups. The way it works is simple. You pick more or less on 2 to 6 player lineups and their stat projections. And if you hit, you can win up to 2,000 times your money. That's right. Certain lineups can turn $10 into 20,000. Plenty of stats available: yards, passing, rushing, receiving, touchdowns, field goals, hits in baseball, strikeouts, goals in soccer and hockey, all kinds of stats out there. You pick more or less 2 to 6 player lineups, you are good to go. This week, PrizePicks is offering a max discount for Jalen Hurts. You just take more than half a passing yard. You can only use these max discount offers once. Pair that with at least one other player, if not up to 5 others. Again, 2 to 6 player lineup, choose more or less. I'm using that Hurts max discount in a 3-player lineup. I've got Rome Odunze more than 61.5 receiving yards, and Ashton Jeanty more than half a rushing or receiving touchdown. That is a goblin pick. Those are a little easier to hit. I do think Jeanty finds the end zone at least once. $20 lineup to win $95. Check out PrizePicks today. Download the PrizePicks app. Use our code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Okay, other Bears injuries to discuss. As we mentioned yesterday, Darnell, Wright, TJ Edwards, and Grady Jarrett are all out. Carl Jones elevated. That helps with Edwards out. Jonathan Ford elevated as well. Jones actually signed to the 53, but you guys get the point. They've got an extra body at each of those positions. We'll talk about Darnell Wright's expected replacement coming up in a minute, as Theo Benedict has a big-time challenge ahead of him in his expected first start. DeAndre Swift and Kyler Gordon are questionable. I expect Swift to play. He was questionable last week and played, so we'll see, but I would expect him out there. Kyler Gordon, there's been some internet whispers that he's going to try to give it a go. Sounds like he'll probably warm up, work out before tomorrow's game, and if there's no setbacks, then he might be active. And is it a little risky? Yeah, because you do have the bye week next week, so you could get an extra couple of weeks here. But at the same time, you're 1-2. There's a big difference between 2-2 and 1-3. You already have 3 starters out. If he can go, I think you play him, because this is a matchup where having a good slot corner can make a big difference. You're going up against Brock Bowers, a really good tight end who's going to operate out of the slot quite a bit. You're also going up against Trey Tucker, who can absolutely burn at wide receiver. He lines up in the slot primarily as well. So Kyler Gordon could certainly help guard both of those guys for the Bears in this matchup on Sunday. So eager to see if Spidey makes his debut for this season, because he has yet to play, as he banged up that hamstring right before the season opener. Okay, with Darnell Wright out, it does appear to be Canadian Eagle time, as Theo Benedict is the expected starting right tackle. Ozzie Trapillo would certainly be active as well in this game, so he'd be one snap away from getting on the field, or if Benedict really struggled, you could give him a look if you wanted to as well. But let's face it, Benedict's earned this opportunity, number one. And number two, welcome to the NFL, buddy. You're going up against Max Crosby, who lines up primarily against opposing right tackles. That is a tall task. I mean, that is a tall task. Now, I trust Ben Johnson and this staff to not expose Benedict to too many one-on-one looks against Max Crosby, but it is unavoidable. There are going to be snaps in this game where he's one-on-one with Max Crosby, and you just hope / expect him to not get completely demolished on those snaps. Now, is Crosby going to win some of those? Absolutely, but there's a difference between, completely whiffing or losing the rep, but, holding up long enough where Caleb Williams is able to deliver the ball, or you're able to run the football away from that side of the field, or whatever the case may be. So I'm excited to see him play. Obviously from a draft allocation, team resources standpoint, you would love it if Ozzie Trapillo was the guy in this spot, but Benedict's been active. Trapillo hasn't. So I think it's only fair, it's only just to give Benedict this opportunity. Again, if he or Braxton Jones were to go down in this game, Ozzie could step in. If Jones went down, I think you would flip Benedict on the fly to left tackle, then have Trapillo play right tackle. That just makes sense to me, considering Trapillo has been working primarily on the right side for over a month now, but we'll see how that ends up playing out. But Trapillo would certainly be active in this game with Darnell Wright out, because you need a third offensive tackle. So going to be interesting to see how that whole situation ends up playing out. in what is a pivotal game tomorrow between the Chicago Bears and the Las Vegas Raiders. All right, before we get out of here, let us know who you got. Predict the score. Bears, Raiders, pair of 1 and 2 teams. The betting odds on this have been kind of back and forth. Last I checked, it was Raiders -1.5, so Vegas is a slight favorite. Bears were a slight dog last week and won by 17, but this will be on the road. Got some key guys out, so if you could just find a way. If you're Ben Johnson, this is an empty the tank game. Find a way to get to 2-2. No one, this isn't college football. You don't need style points. Just get the dub. If you can get the dub here, get to the bye week, get some key guys healthy, TJ, Grady, Darnell, and then go let it rip starting in Washington in week 6. You're in a good position to play some exciting football after the bye week. If you lose this one, season's not over by any means, but excuse me, case of the yawns. It gets a lot tougher because then you got to win 2 games in a row once again to get back to 500. All right, that's going to do it for Chicago Bears now. Your little Saturday update here on the injury and roster front. We'll have a video go out first thing in the morning, kind of a final preview. And then, of course, Cullen and I will be live for Bears Raiders starting at 2 o'clock Central with our pregame coverage. Stay live through the game and then have our postgame show as well. My name is Harrison Graham. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. See you guys soon. Bear down.